Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. This week we have Ken Rosenthal fired, an update on the CBA, and the best and worst of 2021 right now.
9+ Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast, Baseball Family. I am Brad, and Brig is out for one more week. So this week we're joined by our guy Zipp from the No Redeeming Qualities podcast. Welcome, Zipp. How are you today?
I am doing great. I am ready to talk in depth about everything that's happened with the CBA negotiations.
Oh, so much. There's so much going on right now. I'm so excited about this.
They literally went on Christmas break.
They did, and then some. They're still on Christmas
children.
break.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But before we get there, let's talk about this. This news came out actually today, January the 3rd. MLB Network fired Ken Rosenthal after criticizing Rob Manfred. Now, my first takeaway from this, Zipp, was that Brig and I are never going to get a job with MLB Network. Because of this, never going to happen.
Well, I actually didn't say. Maybe I did. What was his criticism?
First was last year he had said something about how if Rob Manfred and the owners can't come together and figure out a way to get the season started because of the pandemic, then
so it's more like continue. It was a couple things.
It was continuous,
okay.
Yeah. Because after he said that, they sat him down for 3 months. They didn't have him on the air, and then and I'm sure with the CBA he said some more stuff. There was nothing in the article that I read that was specific, but I'm sure that he's been continually honest. I mean, let's be honest. That's what it is.
I would say normally that it's their job to be critical, but I think he's in a unique position working for MLB Network. I think that's what you took the job knowing you're kind of, because any of the news that comes out of MLB itself, or usually even the teams itself, is very filtered.
Yes, incredible.
So granted, I don't like Manfred. I don't think anybody likes Manfred, but I also have to remind myself you're kind of not supposed to even like the commissioner. It's his job.
Yeah, David Silver's kind of in a weird spot with the fact that everybody does like him.
Yeah, he's very unique.
Yeah,
Adam Silver's very unique.
Yeah, Adam Silver. That's what I meant.
That's also the power dynamics also different in the NBA. It's a much more player driven, so it's kind of they're a little bit more unequal. So he truly is kind of representing both. Whereas if you're a Roger Goodell type, your job is to be the one everyone hates, so the owners don't.
Yeah, and that's kind of the job of Rob Manfred too, and he takes it. I mean, he embraces the role of the heel and everything, and he goes with it. But apparently,
for those paychecks, I'd get booed at the NFL draft every year too.
Sure. Yeah, I would take the tomatoes that Rob Manfred gets every day if I was making that kind of money too, for sure. You're not wrong there. That's absolutely right. But for Ken Rosenthal though, his criticism has not come on MLB Network. It's come with The Athletic, because he's obviously one of the best and he writes for them. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I get it because he's an MLB Network employee. So basically he works for MLB, but he comes out and he's saying these things in a different platform. I don't know. And also
I think it's pretty standard though that in any occupation, if you go out and badmouth
your
the
boss
job, even if you're not on the job, usually he didn't lose his spot at The Athletic, did he? I mean,
right. No, he's still,
it's not
he's still,
but I'm sure his
Fox Sports.
But then that's also where they talk about access, a lot of them just kind of kiss the league's butt so they don't lose their access to the locker rooms of the players and stuff. But that's not even a criticism unique of baseball. That's all. Well,
I mean,
anything
look at
right
ESPN.
now.
That's how ESPN operates.
Oh, yeah.
NFL, NBA, not as much baseball, but
when that one sports writer whose name I can't remember, where it came out with the Washington football team scandal with the emails, where he was literally sending his article to them.
Oh yeah,
to read it and before it's so at that point you're not really a journalist.
Yeah,
you're more of a media person for the league.
Yeah, exactly right. But no, I mean, I don't think it should come as a surprise that MLB and MLB Network fired Ken Rosenthal because of that. And it's not like he's going to be out on the street. Like we said, he's still with The Athletic, so we're still going to get the good content there. He's still with Fox, so we're still going to get good content there. But no, it's just funny that this is actually what happened to be the thing that he didn't let up on that, and it happened to be the thing that got him fired. But anyway, speaking of guys not working anymore, as of right now, Kyle Seager is out of a job, but this is by his own choice. He retired from Major League Baseball the other day. Now, for me, Kyle Seager was a fixture with the Seattle Mariners because when there was a stretch where it was like I would go to a Mariners game and I would look at like getting a jersey or a jersey or whatever, and I'd be like, I don't want to get one with a name on it because those guys might not be here tomorrow. You know, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that as an Astros fan, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but Kyle
we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a bit.
Yeah, but Kyle Seager's he was there for 11 years. He spent his entire career with the Mariners, and he had a nice big send-off and farewell the last game of the season, and it was fantastic. But I'm actually really happy to see him retire as a Mariner. I don't think he's necessarily a Hall of Famer, but with your experience being a fan of a team in the division, do you think Kyle Seager did enough to get his number retired with the Mariners?
I actually had to go look up some of his stats because I wasn't horribly familiar with them. And I think actually you being the Mariners fan, it would probably be easier for you to tell me why should his number be retired. But you could, like, when you're talking about teams retiring a number, though, that's very subjective. I mean, there's some guys that their numbers are retired purely for things off the field or they're dead, or things like that. So I think that if the city embraced him, I guess take a step back. Irregardless, I know that's not a word, but irregardless of his stats, like if he embraced the city and the city embraced him and he was there the whole time and he decided to retire instead of going and pittering out with another team for another year or two, then I think, sure, why not retire his jersey? I think that's very different from putting him like in a Hall of Fame because, you know, like you could be in there just because you died tragically. Or you
exactly.
could have your number retired. So you as the Mariners fan, though, I mean, do you have any objection to that?
No, I don't.
I would wait a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like you need to wait a couple years.
Like that. Yeah, because right now the Mariners only have 3 retired numbers. They have obviously Jackie Robinson. Yeah, obviously Jackie Robinson. That was the first one. And you've got Edgar Martinez and Ken Griffey Jr. and that's it. Like no Randy Johnson, no Jay Buhner, who was, by the way, like. Jay Buhner was a fan favorite when Griffey was playing, right? So I feel like that's a pretty big deal. And if you're not going to retire his number, then maybe you do need more on-field production. And that's what Kyle Seager had. I mean, he was the rock. He was the constant for the 11 years that he was there. And this year when they were like, supposed to win maybe 70 games, he was the guy who rallied everybody together and kind of pitched a fit at the trade deadline with the Kendall Draven.
They kind of had a period. They were chasing a wild card slot for a little bit, weren't they?
Well, it was the last day of the season they got eliminated.
That's right.
So, and a lot of guys attributed the fact they had that much success to him, the fact that he stepped up and he led everybody. He was a coach within the ranks, like a player coach. And so I do feel like he's kind of gained himself some clout within the community with the team that I think they probably could do it and nobody would be upset about it. But at the same time, if they decided not to do it ever, I don't know that anybody would necessarily raise hell over it,
I was looking up the Astros only have 4 retired numbers.
Oh, really?
The two obvious, Biggio and Bagwell. I knew that one. Nolan Ryan, and then obviously Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
I didn't know they retired Nolan. I've been to that stadium so many times. You think I've seen that?
One would think. No, that's crazy though to think about. I mean, there's obviously going to be more here down the road in the next 10 to 15 years or whatever. But
I was a real anxious kid, and then I grew up to be a real anxious man. But I remember as a kid when I learned about retired numbers, the first thing my brain went to is, what do you do when you run out of numbers? Like, I don't know. Like as a kid, what a weird thing.
Look at the Yankees. I mean,
for a kid, for like an 8-year-old to stress about is, what are the Yankees going to do when they run out of double digits? Yeah. They're going to have to go to halves, or they're going to have to do triple digits like they're referees in the NBA.
That'd be fantastic. Speaking of numbers, do you know where the jersey number comes from?
What jersey?
So just in general, just the jersey number comes from.
Oh, I always assumed it was just so the umpire could remember who people were without having to know their names.
That's part of it. So the Yankees actually started, and this is the reason Babe Ruth wore number 3, because they kind of implemented it, and it indicated the batting order. So you got Babe Ruth batting number 3, so naturally
I see.
Number 3.
Yeah, I always just assumed it was so when there was a giant brawl, they could just
15, 72, and and 16. You guys are gone.
That's always the best part of the post brawl at an MLB game is them all getting together with their notepads and
scribbling down. Well, it's like
anyway.
At least they get it right though for the most part, because in the NFL they can't get it right. They got a holding call.
Oh, they're terrible at it
on the receiver when it was the guard. No, you don't know. But I don't know. Like I said, Kyle Seager potentially could have retired, but I don't know that there would necessarily be any problems if they didn't. Let's move on to the Dodgers. Let's talk Dodgers here for a minute. Your other favorite team here, I know,
yes.
Zipp. I know you love the Dodgers.
The only thing I really want going into spring training is for Joe Kelly to get suspended another 8 games. I think that
he might just make a face in negotiations and get suspended. Conduct detrimental to the league.
Here's the thing about the Dodgers. The thing about the Dodgers is I really don't care about the Dodgers. It's just, you know what I'm saying?
No reason to.
They've made me hate them. I have to defensively hate them. Because they're so they're so aggressive with their hatred that I feel like people when one of the things I want to do, some days is go see every stadium. But I don't want to go to Dodger. I'm gonna get stabbed to death. It's
a legitimate concern. It's a legitimate concern at Dodger
But
Stadium.
Anyway, that's my problem with Dodgers fans is I'm like, I don't want to hate you. I have to. But anyway, with this whole thing with Bellinger.
So yes, it's really interesting. So real quick, Cody Bellinger and the Dodgers avoided arbitration. They gave him a 1-year, $17 million deal. And they said that the deal was done before the CBA expired at midnight on the 2nd. But the news of this didn't come out until 11 days ago. I'm not buying that.
I don't believe any of that crap. They all still talk to each other.
I know.
They're just doing it more secretively than they normally
backdoor
do.
Deal going on. Correa is going to have a deal as soon as the CBA.
Oh yeah, the moment it's done, you're gonna. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's skip to that real quick. So Carlos Correa, there's been rumors swirling around in the news-ish that he could be going to the Cubs. As an Astros fan, do you want him back? Would you like to see him back?
The heart says yes, but the brain says no, because realistically, he's going. The only way I would want it is if it was a short-term deal, if he signed on for another year or another 2 years. But I know he's looking for that long-term fat paycheck, and that's just not a good financial investment for the Astros to make right now, because it's going to be cool now. But man, if we hit 3-4 years down the road and we maybe have to do a rebuild, that is going to be devastating for everything. So I think it's and he wants to move on. He wants to move on to a different, I think he wants to move past the scandal and kind of show a new thing. I'm happy with him going to the Cubs because it gets him out of the American League.
Right. Yeah. I'd love to have him out of the American League.
No objection to that at all. I'm not one of those people that's going to burn his jersey when he leaves. I get it. It's time for him to leave. The only time I get mad at players for doing that is if they lie to me about it, where they're I'm never going to leave. And then they leave that. But other than that, it's yeah, sure. His contract's up. So yeah, I guess short answer is no, I don't want him to come back.
Yeah. Well, and he was pretty honest about it this year, right? He said something about it being his last year in Houston, I think.
Yeah. It was kind of like an open secret throughout the whole year that it was probably his last year. Win or lose with the World Series, it was probably going to be his last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it would be good for him to move on, go somewhere else. Like you said, get away from the whole scandal, be able to rebrand himself, because George Springer did a great job with that in Toronto. I mean, you almost forgot. And it's also, I
always have to remind people there's a shockingly small amount of players left from the 2017 team. Mm-hmm. Probably the only one who will, knock on wood, I mean, things may change, but probably Altuve would probably be the only one who's actually going to stick around forever. Because of if you don't know Altuve's history with the Astros, it runs really deep. So he's the only one I could see being from the 2017 that would even stick around. It'd be like a whole new, it's going to be like a whole new team here soon.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much already is. There was only 5 left last year.
Yeah, well, man, I keep talking about this, but Kyle Tucker's so good.
Where's he at now? Oh, I'm sorry. Tucker. I'm not thinking of Tucker. I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, Tucker's with the Dodgers now, right?
Well, no, Tucker's still with the Astros. He's the one.
I'm thinking of the Turners. Oh my goodness,
the Turners.
I'm totally bad. Now there's 2 of them on the Dodgers.
No, Kyle Tucker is going to be a problem for the American League West for a long time. He's the one we call him an accountant.
I went into this season, or I'm sorry, this previous season, thinking like this is kind of the last hurrah for the Astros, blah blah blah. But and I had figured win or lose, the team was going to bust up. But man, they have a lot of assets that gives me a lot more confidence going into this next season, maybe even the next 2 seasons. Which is why I kind of was a little disappointed Correa wouldn't want to like stick around for that. But I get it. Go get the giant. You know, he wants to get like A-Rod in 2000 money. You know,
I think he's looking for like a Bryce Harper deal.
I can't remember.
It's like
it was
it's
over
13.
It was at one point it was like rumored 300 mil, right? Like
yeah. So Harper has
amount.
350 million over 13 years, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a Correa's looking for, because he sees himself as one of those guys. And honestly, like if you've got him as the corner piece of your franchise, I think you're sitting pretty good.
Would you want him?
Oh, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
You take him in a heartbeat?
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
Now you're making me reevaluate. But maybe it's also because I'm going into it with the understanding that he's already gone. You know.
Yeah. And for the Astros, you're right. It doesn't make sense for them to make that. But my thing is with Correa, like the way I see it with Correa in Seattle is that J.P. Crawford is the shortstop now and well into the future. But if Correa was willing to move to third base, I would take him on in a heartbeat in Seattle, because then you've got Correa, you've got Crawford, and you've got Frazier as your infielders. That's pretty good.
Now,
right?
since we're on the topic of the CBA, can we talk about the new updates?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the update really is that there's not really an update.
Yeah. I like to imagine that they all run out of the building like it's the last day of school for Christmas break. But I've been kind of surprised at how people don't understand that the timeline. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt with this, but like the point is they want the pressure of, are they going to miss spring training? Are they going to miss opening day? So it doesn't matter if there's 3 months between now and that deadline in 3 years, they're going to lollygag until they get to the pressure. So part of me's not surprised that they're doing that, like holidays aside. But do you think there's any chance of them not starting on March 31st?
Like starting the season on March 31st?
Yeah. Like, do you think there's any way for this labor disruption to cause to ripple onto the actual season?
I do. And for those of you who don't know, the players that complained, specifically, I'm citing Zach Britton here, says that the owners have refused to come to the negotiating table. And I feel like you do have to kind of have some back and forth early. Like, I know they had some over the last couple of years. They had some earlier last year. But the fact that the owners sat at the table for literally 7 minutes is what players have said before the lockout. They listened to the pitch and they said, no, thanks. And they pieced out. They got right out of there and they haven't come back since. And they came out a couple weeks ago and they said that they're not going to address any major economic issues until the middle of January. Jewel and I were talking about this. Like, okay, that's fine. So hammer out some of the other details in the meantime. The universal DH. I guess arbitration.
Really, it's the arbitration, it's the universal DH. I've heard some rumors with some
expanded playoffs.
Yeah,
like do all the minutia, all the extra details and the stuff that they can mostly agree on.
They want that pressure because
I know, and I think you're right.
I don't think it's going to happen because they've lost so much revenue from COVID. Like, why would they do that to themselves? Like,
I know.
Like, I think you're right. I guess the only thing is bringing scabs. Can they even do that in Major League Baseball?
So they can, and that's kind of the funny thing is that. So Jewel and I talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago.
Because there's repercussions for a professional player being a scab in the pros.
There
right?
are. There are. Yeah, so they can bring in minor leaguers who are not on the 40-man roster. However, if those guys agree to come in as a scab and play during the lockout, they can never be part of the union.
Yeah.
So they'll get no pension. Yeah, that's really just not smart. But on the other hand, guys who know they're not going to make it, who've just basically been sparring partners in AA, high A, whatever, short full season A, like maybe.
Now, are you going to want to watch that?
It's baseball, man. I went and watched Fall League.
Yeah. I've also you got to see it through the lens of the casual. I
don't know the casual fans.
Yeah, especially April with the NBA playoffs going on and all that. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, watch AA players. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like for me, it's like My son and I went and sat through a fall league game on Veterans Day. So we were like, hey, November baseball, let's go. Yeah. And I try to sit through as much spring training as I can just because I need it, just put it in my veins and I'm good to go. But so I'd watch, but as far as the casual fan, I don't know that they would necessarily be happy with it. Maybe for the first month because of the novelty and the ability to actually watch some baseball. But
now,
I think you're right.
What if, I'm just thinking out loud, like, what if the lack of competitive, like, it's not going to be at the same competitive level that the major leaguers are at. It gets more people watching because there's more ball, like more action going on.
It probably would be because you think about it. So I've talked about this before. I covered college baseball when I was in school, and those games would go for like 4 hours. I swear.
Yeah,
they couldn't get any outs.
Because they can't get any
like
outs.
15-13, 9 innings, and you're like, gosh, can somebody get an out? I got to go to bed.
Well, that's
I'm
why
so
you watch some of the you watch like bad umpire footage, and it'll be like a strike that's way out. They're like, how can he call that? It's like because he wants to go home. Like
that's exactly right. That's exactly what we would get to. So it might be more entertaining because the pitching wouldn't be up to snuff, but the hitters would still be really good. So yeah, we might get it.
I think that's terrible for a terrible path for baseball to go down. But
so
I just think there's too much money on the table for them to let it squander away. But stupider things have happened, and sometimes when these people get so rich, they kind of lose. I guess I don't know what that word would be, but
I don't know. They lose some common sense. But we look back, though, in the last decade or so, we've had the NFL and we've had the NBA both lock out. And both of those, like you said, last-minute deals. When it was like, man, we're going to miss time with these games. And they didn't. They didn't miss any time at all.
Yeah, I think the NBA missed a tiny bit a couple years ago. Did they?
I think...
Because I know they missed games in '98, yeah, but I think
that's right.
Like less than 10 games.
They pushed the season back, and it started on Christmas Day.
Maybe that's what they did.
Yeah, because that's when the NBA players want to start the season anyway. They don't want to start in October.
Oh, that's what I always say about like basketball. It's like nobody's even trying until Martin Luther King Day. Like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly right. That's
people are sitting talking. Oh, the Memphis Grizzlies are hot. I'm like, it's December. Like, chill out.
The Lakers got blown out by like 25 points once in November, and Kobe's like, it's Christmas. The season it's not even Christmas yet. The season hasn't started. Get over it. Like, who cares? This game doesn't matter. But anyway, with that, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to share our best and worst of 2021.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back with me. Root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Shop kids' baseball shirts at 9plusS.com.
The None Sports Podcast is the home of sports talk for everyone. Every other week, you can catch David and Jason as they talk about all things sports, from current events to classic moments and everything in between. You can find the None Sports Podcast on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and more. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.
Welcome back, baseball family. Here we go with our main segment this week. We're going to talk about our best and worst of 2021. Before we do that, Zipp, you had something you wanted to talk about because
the original idea. The original topic
was I guess a dinner guest. Is that what I said? A dinner party.
I had to pick 3 people from the world of baseball, dead or alive, managers, sports writers, players themselves, whatever, to bring to a dinner party. And I was going to just say it was going to be, I would pick 3 Darryl Strawberries.
3.
I was just trying to think of the short. It was Darryl Strawberry, Babe Ruth,
Dwight Gooden.
I was stuck on the third one. I was trying to not only pick people who were from the Simpsons softball episode, which I think you guys could do an entire episode. I don't know if you guys even follow The Simpsons. That might be a terrible idea for an episode, but like how amazing that. Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. That one's fantastic. Yeah.
Like you could do a whole episode just on that because it was actually a huge undertaking to get all of them.
I'm sure
record.
it was.
But anyway, back on topic. Yeah, so 3 Darryl Strawberries.
That's a great idea. I think we'll have to. Okay, so let's go into our best and worst of 2021. Zipp, since you're the guest, I'll let you go first. Doesn't matter.
Best or worst?
Doesn't matter. Whichever one
Okay,
you
we'll
want.
do best. I think best is Ohtani in general. Just kind of the highlight of the season was this anomaly that's so rare. You literally, it's kind of like considered hack to compare people to Babe Ruth, but he's literally the only person that you could compare him to because it's just such a unique skill set. And as we even talked earlier about like the universal DH, like there's not going to be another Ohtani. It's just not. I mean, do you think Ohtani may change the course on that and more pitchers may try and bat to increase their net worth? Or do you think the DH will just eliminate the concept at all?
They might, because the Angels actually signed Jared Lorenzen, who's a two-way player as well. He's a tremendous athlete. Like he's obviously not Ohtani, or else we'd know more about who he is. But I mean, mostly what he is a physical specimen because the dude's shredded. First off, like he's got like the Derek Dietrich body. Like the dude is just ripped. And he's the one who was wearing the Vans cleats last year. Mm-hmm. Did you see that?
I don't think so, but
anyway, he's a two-way player as well. So, but he spent some time in the outfield last year, 2 years ago for the Reds. But he hits for them, he pitches for them, he does a good job. Obviously, like I said, he's no Ohtani, but I think we might actually see more of it.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it seems like it's either just going to go the way of the dodo because of the way that the DH is going to go, or he will spur this whole new generation. Because I don't know what's so exciting about it. Is it just the anomaly of a pitcher who's his own DH, like
I think that's what it is that
he's also got a great attitude,
the best attitude. Like the dude just makes funny. Baseball look so fun.
I'd say the only thing, and I want to phrase this carefully because I don't want to have a Stephen A. Smith moment because I don't want to paint it as a flaw. I would say the only downside for us Westerners is that he caters to his Japanese fan base more than he seems to cater to Westerners. I don't know.
And I can see
that's fine, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where he's from, But I would say that'd be the only real downside to it is that he is, he's Japanese. He's going to cater to them before us.
And Ichiro was the same way too. Ichiro spoke fine English, but he still spoke through an interpreter, and he still catered to the Japanese fan base, which was fine. And actually, I think the Mariners liked it because it expanded the fan base internationally. I think the Angels like it because it expands their fan base internationally. Because let's be honest, their fan base is about that big on a map, because the Dodgers.
Also, just my dad, who's kind of fallen out of baseball over the last couple of years, literally started watching some again just to see that because I heard there's a pitcher who's gonna. It was when he did the home run derby. He's like, I heard there's going to be a pitcher in the home run derby, and I was like,
and he's legit.
He's legit. Unfortunately, he didn't do too hot in the home run derby, but still, I mean, I'd say that was probably a highlight of the season. Is just
I would say so too.
Now, do you think he's going to continue to do that, or do you think time's going to?
I think he will. Because he's been hampered by injuries. I mean, he's had Tommy John twice already. I think that's been the big thing is everybody is like, oh, he's a bust. He's got his elbows made of glass, everything, blah, blah, blah. But it's like what we saw this year is what everybody expected out of him.
Yeah. And he's still young, too. I mean, he's only, 25?
Yeah, he's like 25, 26. He's still really young.
He's got a long way to go.
So, yeah, he does have a long road ahead, and I think we can continue to see what we saw this year. I don't know that he'll necessarily take a step back. I don't know he'll go a whole lot forward. Like, I don't see him breaking Barry Bonds' single-season record. But at the same time, maybe be the first guy in a while to hit 60. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. That's the,
So.
Now, what's your best moment from last year?
So I have my best awkward moment is what I have.
Your best awkward moment.
Yes, my best awkward moment was when Javi Baez tricked Pirates first baseman Will Craig into getting in a rundown between home and first base.
Yes, that was that was something.
It's fantastic.
Everybody's just screaming, just touch first base.
Exactly. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's a runner on second base for the Cubs. So this was before Baez got traded. So the Wilson Contreras is on second base for the Cubs, and Baez hits a hard ground ball to third baseman Eric Gonzalez for the Pirates. He throws the ball wide, like down the line. at first base, and Will Craig, the first baseman, instead of just touching the base, he goes and tries to tag Baez. Well, Baez, having his head on him like he does, because the dude's baseball IQ is through the roof, he's like, maybe I'll see if I can get him to tag me. Backs up, starts heading towards home, and Craig, instead of literally stopping where he's at, taking 4 steps behind him, touching first base with 2 freaking outs, Zipp. There were 2 outs.
He just baited him into it. He just
chased him all the way home. Contreras scores, and then I have it here. The catcher was, what was his name? Michael Perez has the ball, and then he throws the ball. He tries to lead like he's throwing a touchdown pass to Adam Frazier, who's still with the Pirates at the time, is going to first base, but he throws it behind him, so the ball goes in right field. Baez ended up on second base.
It's to be a fly on the wall for the butt chewing that had to have followed that. I don't know.
Do you know what happened to Will Craig after that?
I don't actually.
Within a week, he was designated for assignment.
Yes.
And then he ended up in the KBO with the Kiwoom Heroes.
Oh,
so his
wow!
MLB could very well be over because he tried to get somebody
to have that happen
rundown
twice in a season to go from the majors to the minors, and then in the same season the minors to Korean baseball.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about him. I was just imagining, because there's no subsection of men on this planet who get more angry than baseball managers. They're just the angriest people. I could not imagine. Angry. I'd rather die than have to go face my baseball manager after a screw up of that.
Dude, caliber. I dealt with a high school coach who had an anger issue. I can't imagine what it's like to deal with a major league manager with anger issues. Like, that's something else. I'm
surprised we've never had one just flatten out die, like while yelling at an umpire. Like if
it was gonna happen, it was gonna be Lou Piniella. Like if it was gonna happen, that's where it was gonna be. So
I love also just lip reading during it.
Well, and it's easy because they enunciate.
Yeah, it is.
You can see every word.
That's always what I think that, like, as far as robo umps, the only way I'm going to support a robot umpire is if they can wheel out a little robot for the manager to yell at, just because it's you yelling at the robot's going to change the robot's mind just as much as
what it's going to be. It's going to actually be better because they would have to have an umpire up in the box running the robot. And so you've got a guy stepping out, yelling up to the press box, yelling at some guy who they can't see, some mystical figure.
So now he's like the man behind the curtain now.
Yes, exactly.
The mysterious guy.
That's exactly what it might be better, because then the whole stadium gets to hear it. Anyway,
these are the things about putting butts in seats. Because those are like I hate I'm a bit of a Joe Buck apologist, but I hate when he does things like when there was a fight, he's like, "That's disgraceful. Nobody wants to see that. Shut up, Joe Buck. I want to see.
Everybody
that.
wants to. See
I want to see that. Everybody in those audience wants to see those two men fight."
That's the thing that's so funny is that I've gotten to the side where we should be beyond throwing baseballs at each other, but at the same time, I do love to see it. What I hate doing is explaining to my son why they do it. Why do they do that, Dad? I don't know. I don't know why they're doing it, honestly, but it's fun to watch.
Like I'm just, if there wasn't DHs, I'd be totally on board with them still hitting each other. It's like now that the pitchers don't have to go and get their head rocked in, it seems like that's a great spot to be in.
I know.
Only I throw the balls at people.
Yeah, exactly.
No one throws anything at me.
Yep.
Anyway,
and that's the problem I have with it too. Is that the pitchers don't have to answer to it.
Yeah.
Instead, it's the big contract like the Bryce Harpers and the Machados have to answer to it. Anyway, all right, let's give me
worst thing of 2021. I think the worst thing to happen in baseball in 2021 is having all 6 of the MVP finalists not even make it to the postseason. I think that's probably the worst indication of the overall. I think it's showing this almost divide in the sport where it's like you can either have the all-star players and then your roster's a bunch of scrubs, or you can spread the money around and have a roster that plays into October. And I think that's just a little disheartening because it just seems to be kind of the direction it's going.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's frustrating.
Like Ohtani. Like, what a waste of potential for Ohtani and Mike Trout to not be playing.
What a waste of
October baseball. Like,
what a waste of a year for Ohtani. Like the fact that he did all that and they didn't even make the playoffs. The Mariners at least made the playoffs in '97 when Griffey won the MVP. I mean, but yeah, I mean, and the problem with the Angels is that like they had Trout out for almost the entire year. Rendon was out for almost the entire year. They probably could have made the playoffs if those guys had been healthy, but you can't win with just one guy. But that's the problem that teams are having is that the Nationals had a fire sale, got rid of everybody, and now they only have Juan Soto. So of course he's going to win the MVP.
Yeah,
but he's going to win it hitting solo home runs. So
yeah,
it is a problem.
If it was an individual effort thing, then the Angels would have made it to the World Series sometime in the last.
I know.
Last time they would have 2002.
Yeah, 2002.
Sorry, kids with divorced dads, he's not coming back. The Angels, if your dad left after they won in 2002, that doesn't count. You got to wait for them to win it again.
Exactly. That's a good reference. I like that. That's really good.
I love that movie because what a deadbeat dad. What a deadbeat dad to be like. I just.
Yeah, that's solid. I like that. All right. Okay, so my worst, my next worst is the worst day of the season. Now, it's the final day of the season, and it's not necessarily because it's the season ending and I get sad and depressed and everything, but it's because of the massive letdown in the American League. You had like a potential 4-way tie, and then the Yankees and the Red Sox have to go win. And I think I proposed this to Brig. I said, you know what, Brig, we're going to talk about this on the podcast. We're going to have to get our tinfoil hats on. I don't have mine with me. Maybe I'll put one on as a graphic. Anyway, it's like, I think what happened there is that MLB front office was like, Rob's not getting it. He doesn't understand how this whole thing works. We have to just let these guys win because we can't have a 4-way tie because no matter how many times we explain it to him, he's not figuring it out. He doesn't know how it works. So if we just have the Yankees and Red Sox win, it all sorts itself out. It's really easy, and we'll just go from there. It'll be fine.
Do you believe
but it's
that?
Such a letdown. I believe that wholeheartedly.
I get discouraged when people talk about everything needs to rotate around New York, Boston, and LA because I'm like, then why don't they just have 10 teams in each of those 3 cities and call it a day?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, but my playoffs were a little bittersweet because the Astros lost in the World Series and I got COVID during it. But
you did? Oh no!
We all, it was me and my husband and Bob, who I do NRQ with. We all got it at the same time, and we all tested negative on the rapid tests, but we had every COVID symptom in the book and no taste, no smell. I watched game 4 of the when the Astros beat the White Sox. I thought I was like in a coma, I was like, so it was a bittersweet playoffs. But I know everybody was happy to see the Astros lose. I got very old very quick.
I'm sure it did, yeah.
But I'm also a UT Longhorns fan, so anytime I try and go on any like Reddit college football thing, you're automatically everybody hates you as well.
Everybody's horns down on you.
Everybody, and I love it when people buy the horns down stuff because that money goes to UT because you got to pay for the logo.
That's true. You're right.
Even if it's upside down, you got to pay for it. So I'm whatever the dorks. Anyway, so yeah, it was. To me, I felt like, people acted like the Astros going to the World Series and losing somehow made them look worse than not making it to the World Series at all. And my problem with that would have been, I have a feeling that they would have not given credence to the Astros regardless of what happened. So I got like, if they won, they would have just said, well, you're cheaters. If you lost, they said, well, this is what happens when you can't cheat, So it's just kind of like, you got to move on eventually. And as long as Joe Kelly gets another suspension, I think Major League Baseball's wounds can start to heal.
Joe Kelly is the people, by the way, but but no. And you know what though? Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I was cheering for the Braves just because I don't believe in cheering for division rivals. And I was kind of like, you know what? The Astros played a great series against the Braves,
but the Braves played great. I mean, what is there to be mad about?
You can't take anything away from the way the Braves played.
It wasn't like the Astros crapped the bed. It wasn't like the Braves did anything. Exactly. It was a good series. And, the Braves, especially considering they completely replaced their entire outfield pretty much from scratch in July?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole
trade deadline.
Yeah, more kudos to them,
Exactly.
And someday I'd like to see the Astros win at least one more World Series, so that way I don't have that always thinking like, am I never going to see it again? Is it going to be 80 years? Am I going to be dead in the grave? Are my grandchildren going to be listening to the Astros win the World Series over my grave with whatever device we listen to things now, saying, "Oh, if only he could have been here." But
yeah, I know there's some days I feel like that as a Mariners fan, though, that my son and his grandkids are going to be listening to the Mariners win the World Series. Like, if only Dad had stuck out another 50 years.
Well, it's like with the Cubs, their giant streak, and the Red Sox with their giant streak. It's like, turns out you guys weren't cursed; you just sucked.
Yeah. Way rather be cursed. Something to blame it on. But, all right, so you did. So I did my worst day. Give me your next best.
Oh, next best. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to have two. I did have a couple second ones.
Okay.
Oh goodness. I just had it too. I just brought it up.
Here, let's go ahead and take.
I remember what it was. It was that there was no sustained stoppages from COVID. There were a couple series canceled here and there, but they shuffled it around. They made it work, and I think that was I guess I wasn't really that confident they'd make it through the whole 162. Without having
everybody
happen.
played 162 this year.
Yeah.
So
and they got close though a couple times. I remember there was was it the Mets?
The Mets had one. I think.
Yeah, there was a couple teams had some pretty serious outbreaks. But I guess that'd be another perk since it's looking like we're going into maybe another season where we have to deal with this crap.
I know. I hope that they can get it sorted out, get things figured out by the time the season starts, so we don't have a baseball season like the NBA season and the NFL season, because it's been bad. NFL, NBA is unwatchable right now.
The NBA, it's unwatchable for a couple. The NBA, the players are tired. They're exhausted.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of dudes on 10-day contracts right now.
Got Isaiah Thomas back, and
it makes you beg the question. It's like, obviously they don't want to stop doing the games because they need the revenue. But who's going to go if it's a bunch of G League guys?
Yeah.
At what point is it just better to cut your losses? But
yeah, well, and I think too they don't want to push the season back too far like they did initially.
They're so desperate to just get it back on.
Yeah, get it back on track.
Sync. But it's I really haven't even watched the NFL much this season.
I watched a little bit, but I don't know. I struggle with the NFL anyway these days, but it's probably just because the Seahawks stink. But whatever.
And then I'm a Texans fan, so that's
no reason for you to watch.
No, I might as well just go mow the grass, or something. I'm gonna be just as
enthralled.
Hey, use up 3 hours of my time and end up pissed off and disappointed.
Exactly.
But I think that's a good. If you don't, I'm sorry. What was you had another?
Sorry,
another best.
Okay, yeah. So I have my absolute best, and this is a Mariners versus Astros moment. I'll warn you.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not gonna fly into a psychopathic rage because somebody talked bad about my sports team. I'm not a Dodgers fan, I'm not an animal.
So one of the best things, like the absolute best moments for me this season. So I talked earlier about how the Mariners traded Kendall Graveman to the Astros. It was during a series when the Astros were in Seattle.
Yes.
Well, the Mariners got back Abraham Toro, who apparently is a guy that Jerry DePoto's had his eye on for about 3 years. He's trying to pry him away from the Astros. And later on during the season, Toro comes up with the bases loaded against Kendall Graveman, and he hits a grand slam. And I was up in my living room. Yes, the Mariners won the trade. It was that moment.
I remember I wasn't watching it, but I was doing the on your phone where it's like the balls and strikes.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember thinking, because it wasn't just you, it was other people that was like, I'm gonna hear about this.
Yeah, that was a really exciting moment for me. Anytime the Mariners put up a crooked number against the Astros, first off, and second, the fact that it was the guy who everybody was like, oh, why'd they get rid of the closer, blah blah. It's like, no, this guy's good, like he's legit, and he goes and he does that against the guy they traded for him. It was awesome. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun to watch, and especially, like I said, for a Mariners team that was supposed to not do really well and overachieved by a ton. it was just a big moment for the team. It was really cool to see. It was a lot of fun to watch.
So, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Something we can conclude on. What's the thing you're most looking forward to in 2022, the season?
The thing that I'm most looking forward to is I want the Mariners. I'm looking forward to the Mariners making the playoffs. I think it's going to happen this year.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
I know you do.
It's the same thing like when I talk about Ohtani, because always in the back of my head where I'm like, ooh, well, that'd be at the detriment of my team for him to be doing good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things with that is that like he could have potentially come to Seattle. Jewel, who was on the last few weeks with me, he and I talk about it all the time. Like, man, like if the Mariners had just been able to do that one last thing to get over the top to get him in Seattle, man, could be our guy. But what are you looking forward to the most this season?
Man, I guess it's just seeing. I guess it's exciting because it feels like a last hurrah. Because like we got Dusty Baker back, we got Verlander back, we got kind of the writing on the wall is a lot of these people are only going to stick around for another go around. I'm excited about that. I'm also excited for the possibility of a COVID free or a season where we don't have to worry about COVID. I can tell you something I'm looking forward to is every year for my grandma's birthday, we take her to an Astros game, and we haven't been able to do that during COVID. So it'd be nice to do that again this July.
That'd be cool. That's awesome. I like that.
Oh yeah, she's a huge Astros fan.
That's cool.
And
that's really cool.
Yeah, and I guess is the expanded playoffs possible? Would that go into effect this year?
I think it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean they were able to get it in place during the COVID season, and that would be so cool. I love the playoffs. I don't understand why people don't like expanded playoffs.
Here's a shocking statistic I heard. Is that Major League Baseball from its broadcast deals makes so much money. They make the same, generally speaking, they make the same amount of revenue during the postseason baseball that they do from the entire regular season.
I believe it.
And I thought that was shocking. It tells you that there's maybe too much of one and not enough of the other or something, but
maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I know that the regular season deals are big, but maybe not big enough because there's 162 games spread across 30 teams. But at the same time, like playoffs are a big deal.
So you're in Arizona, right?
Right. Yeah.
So but you're a Mariners fan. Do you by any chance? I'm curious how this works. So if you get MLB Network because you're not in the market, you can just watch any Mariners game you want. Like this is Soviet Russia and everything's free.
Yep.
Because I live close enough to Houston that I can't, and it just enrages me because I'm like, take the money. I'm giving you money. Take it. Take it.
Right? Yes.
And see, that's I'm putting it in like Manfred's pocket. Like take the.
Yes, that's the money. That's so funny. So we lived in Western Idaho for a couple of years, and I didn't get to watch any Mariners games, like at all,
because it's just close enough to the.
Yeah, it's in the market, quote unquote. Now here, so yeah, I watch the Mariners every day here. And then when they were actually in town, I went to 2 of the 3 games. And then on Sunday, I was sitting around Sunday afternoon. I was like, oh, I'll turn the game on. And I was like, no, I won't. This is the one game I don't get to watch. They're literally 15 minutes down the road from my house. And I don't get to watch it. It's so dumb.
And then they turn around and go, why is nobody watching baseball? Why is nobody watching baseball? And I'm sitting here pulling my freaking hair out. It's so annoying that the town I live in a more rural part of Texas, but the town I live in, I can listen to Astros games on my radio, on the iHeart radio. But if I go to the town parallel to ours, which is only like 10 miles up the road, that's close enough to Houston that
you can't.
The radio just says you're in an area that's,
wow. That's crazy.
It's like I live. My house is thankfully is that close to the border. I could do it. So as long as Manfred doesn't find out about me,
well, I think you're safe here because I doubt he listens to us. He might get not more than 5 minutes.
Oh, he's not doing it, but he's got robots.
He's got cronies. Yeah, he does. You're right. But that reminds me.
Ken Rosenthal killed.
That's actually the last thing I had. Was my last worst. Was I had the worst person, and it happened to be Rob Manfred.
The worst person in baseball. Tony La Russa for me. I hate Tony La Russa. I was so happy to see us knock him out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think everybody was.
I think that the way I summed it up the best is he's so obsessed with people following the unwritten rules of baseball. And I say, well, you should follow the written rules of the road and not drive intoxicated. You
Seriously,
jerk.
though. Yes. Yes. Like, he drove a guy out of the league because he didn't follow the quote-unquote unwritten rules of baseball. He just swung the bat. Who cares? Man. Yeah, that dude's the worst. Golly. Him and Rob Manfred, 1A and 1B. Man, that's a good one. That's a really good one. But with that, let's wrap things up here. Zipp, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on NRQ?
You can find me. I'm the host of the No Redeeming Qualities podcast. You can find that every Wednesday morning. You can find that anywhere podcasts are found or at nrqpodcast.com. I've also got another project. It's called The H is for Hell, and it is a YouTube show. It's exclusively about Houston sports. It's mini-sodes. It's only about 10, 20 minutes long. I'm back to dropping those on Fridays. You can find that if you go to Gamma Gator Productions on YouTube. Find the Gamma Gator YouTube channel. Drops there every Friday morning. And yeah, in case you're wondering, Houston sports, since I started the show back in March in the wake of the Watson stuff, I was just like, this is too much crap going on. I have to do
so much.
It was too much. It was so much. I literally started a show to process it in my brain. And now that we're this deep in, and now that we're this deep in, things really haven't gotten better. For the Astros, sure, but oh man, the Rockets, it's bad. I know we're not allowed to, I know we have to use our words. We have to choose our words carefully. So I will say the Rockets are doo-doo.
They are. It's so bad.
Doo-doo, just fly it into space.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it really is. I mean, the title of the show is fitting. It's fantastic. Does a great job.
Well, we need to have you. We need to get you and Brig on sometimes because I don't know. I feel something about Bob and Brig's energy might collide.
In the wrong way. They might blow up the internet. The two of them.
In the wrong way. But we'll see.
Yes.
Just get Bob talking about. I can't. Save that for NRQ. Sorry.
Perfect. All right.
Anyway, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
I'm honored to be the one you picked to start 2022 with. And I think it's going to be a great season
for sure.
If it happens.
If and when. Yeah, I agree.
Don't worry. You've only got union disputes in a global pandemic in your way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, let me plug the shop real quick. Don't forget to jump on 9plusus.com. Spell it out, NINEPLUS.com. Tonight I have my pirate shirt on. I think I've worn it probably the last few weeks in a row just because it's my favorite shirt that I own. And I have my United We Fan hat on backwards here, so you can hop on there, get yourself something nice. We have some new stuff coming down the pipeline here pretty soon, and that's what we call the tease. Don't forget to jump in the mailbag, send us your questions, comments, concerns, snide remarks. We'd love to hear it all. You can do that with the link down in the description. You can also do that on baseballtogether.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Let us know what you think. And baseball family, Happy New Year. We will catch you next week.